Hello everyone to my channel, The Secret of Secrets. Today we are shifting our interest to astrology. The topic of today's video is Sun in the 8th house, the phoenix that rises again and again from ashes. Now, this is a very intriguing placement, and I happen to have it. So, in this video, I will talk more about how I have experienced this placement in my life and what I have studied and researched about. I personally find it very, very interesting and have spent quite some time going into texts, scriptures, YouTubers, videos, Tumblr articles, and gone through almost everything that has mentioned Sun in the 8th house. Now, if those of you who are new to this subject, or if you yourself have this placement, I hope to give you some insights that might help you to better navigate this particular placement because it does demand a lot of things from you. It's not an easy placement by any stretch of the imagination. So I hope to provide you something that might help you. So, where shall we start with this? Well, let's just first talk about what the sun represents in astrology. Sun is the identity, the the how the person, what is the mission of the person, sort of, and also how the person is perceived by other people. Eighth house, on the other hand, is the house of mysteries, prominently called as the house of death. However, one thing that people do miss while emphasizing on the death aspect of the eighth house is the life aspect, because death and life are interconnected. One cannot exist without the other. So, consequently, the eighth house is also the house of life and living. So, eighth house represents the cave like things. So, sphincter, aperture, hollow, opening, all these things are associated with the eighth house. It also represents what is in Sanskrit called as niryat, which is going forth, exiting, coming out, set free. So it's a way, it's like transitioning into another phase, or overcoming certain difficulties and then coming out of it. Hence the phoenix rising out of the ashes metaphor. So it's a house where suppressed or repressed or negative energies are made to release by some crisis like moment, and out of that out of that turmoil, the native is forced to reinvent himself, to sort of take a rebirth. And this process is often accompanied by a lot of pain, misery, and suffering. However, if one is able to get used to this, which if you have Sun in the 8th house, you have to get used to it, is that such crisis like events are going to make you more refined. They are definitely going to make you better in all aspects of life. Each ego death is going to leave you more humble as a person, more light, more in tuned, more connected with your soul. So these death and rebirth like rituals are going to keep happening, and each death and rebirth ritual is going to leave you better than before. It is also a splendid placement for for the mastery of mysteries. So it's it's a great placement if you have an interest in occult or in sadhana or doing a sadhana or a spiritual practice, because sun is a dharmic planet. It has religious undertones, and eighth house is can be said that it is spiritual or mystical, and all things related to spirituality and mysticism can be talked about in association with the eighth house. Now I'm going to spit out a few keywords associated with this placement. One is emergencies, secret sources of power, hidden wealth, insurance, confidential information, identity change, disaster response, taxes. Now, another thing about this placement is that someone with their sun in the eighth house, after, of course, going through various upheavals and transformations, are going to become very, very strong minded people or turn out as very reliable, very people who display inner strength. So these people are very good in crisis like situations, emergencies. So people working in medical, uh, for someone working in emergency situations like ambulances, and people who have to be on the spot of accidents where you might have to deal with people who are heavily injured. So someone must have a lot of inner strength to deal with such a situation. And people with sun in their eighth house, through their continuous confrontation with very dark and dangerous situations, become strong minded. Five R's associated with displacement: revival, rejuvenation, recycling, renovation, and rebirth. So, a continuously transforming, continuously changing personality. Someone who is not the same if you have not met that person for even 1 year, they will not be the same afterwards. If not, if you meet them after a long time, you will certainly say that this person has changed. Either their appearance has changed, the way they talk, their thinking style, they go through changes so much that they get used to it after a certain time. So if they face another life change or a transformation, or they see that another change is about to dawn upon them, they no longer are flustered by it. They have gotten used to it, and they have accepted the fact that life is change, and that to be truly master this thing called life, one has to accept change. And these people with their sun in the eighth house are not surface level people. They are really deep, and one of their major drive is to find the best way to live. What is the best way to live this life? What is what do they have to do so that they are using their potential to its best capacity. They are not fickle minded people, they are not surface level people. They want to understand this thing called life and to use that understanding, embody that understanding, and then live it and to become life itself. So every crisis situation forces them to shed a layer of their identity, and then something new emerges, a new understanding, a fresh, rejuvenated point of view emerges. So they are always reinventing, always. One another point is that they seek a central position within masked, occluded environments. So these people do not like to be in the limelight all the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So these people are they like to be on their own. They like to be they are not they don't necessarily like it, but they are sometimes forced to isolate themselves as they see that people around them do not fully understand them. So they find that it is somehow better to be on their own, also because they are really deep researchers, and the things that they are interested in, not many people find it particularly interesting, so they keep their real self hidden from others, and they don't let it out so easily unless they find that the other person is able to reciprocate, that they are receptive to these ideas of theirs. They are charismatic. These people are charismatic people because the thing about charismatic people is that charisma is obvious to others. Like it is something that is palpable, but you cannot really pinpoint what is it about this person that is exuding this charisma. And these 8,000 people, because they are in 8,000 people, because they are in touch with the elemental aspect of life. So they are the ones who touches the deepest core elements of life, and once they touch it, this thing is activated inside of them, and then it radiates outside without even knowing, without even the people with sun in the eighth house knowing about it. They do exude this mysterious charismatic influence on people, and they because they have gone through the darkest places in their mind, in their psyche, in the confrontation with something that was not pleasant at all, that was quite unpleasant. uh, they In doing so, they also touch something that is, how do I say this, that is almost magical, mystical, that is supremely beyond the realm of normal understanding. So they to put it simply, charisma is something that when a person has it, it means that person's core, his identity, is centered. It has settled down to the deepest surface of their being. So they are unmoved, unperturbed now by fickle external things, something that would disturb, that would easily disturb other people, would not even face these people. So they radiate charismatic light from the brilliant center of mystery. They understand that life is deeply mysterious, and they have learned to enjoy that mystery. Few more keywords: transformer, hider, detector, diver. These are people who really dive deep. Pursuer of mysteries, investigator of the covered or forbidden. I think with this video, I'm only going to cover the surface of this iceberg that is sun in the eighth house. And I hope to make these videos more refined as I go along. But this is just something on something that was in my head, and I had to get it out of my system. So I hope this did help people. I know it's a bit vague, bit obscure, but if you have Sun in the eighth house, you would definitely find it very relatable. Thank you.